Well, so far we have understood some basics of bonds. Let us try to summarize it. At primary market, initially the issuers will come and call for lending money. So in that process, they issue bonds. The important parameters while issuing bonds are basically the duration of the bond, that is how many years the bond will be running, and what is the maturity date, the face value of the bond per coupon value. If it is a zero coupon value, then these coupon values are zero, that is C equal to zero. But finally, you will have one time payment of all the coupons. Therefore, at the end of the bond, that is at the maturity date, you will get both face value plus the sum of all the coupons. Then frequency of coupon payment per year. Generally, the coupon values are mentioned per year, that is annual value only they will quote. And then in each year, they may have some M number of payments like quarterly payment or semi-annual payment, in which case the coupon value will be divided into M parts and each coupon payment will be made. Then the issue price P naught. The main task is to obtain the issue price P naught. For that, we have a formula that involves a interest rate R. If you recall, issuers generally fix this interest rate R to be equal to the coupon rate given by them. So once they call for a bond, many investors will come and try to buy the bonds for the issue price. They will apply for the bond and then there will be some time given for application. And once the time is over, the issuer will allot the bonds to the people as per their priority, and then the issue closes on some date. From that date, bond duration will be given, and once the issue is closed and the bonds are allotted to the holders, soon after, the trade of the bonds will start in the secondary market. That is, a special window will be open. Mostly it is online these days, but offline also will happen, where the holders can sell their bonds to others. At secondary market, the bonds basically trades. So the sellers will fix some price for their bonds and wait for the buyers to come, and buyers similarly they fix some price which is called bid price. So generally, the if we call the seller's price as PS and buyer's price as PB, then generally buyers will ask for less price than what sellers will ask for, that is offer price and bid price. If no sellers are ready to sell their bonds at this rate, then buyers will start slowly increasing the price. Whereas from the seller's point of view, if no buyers are ready to buy at this high price, then the sellers will try to decrease the price, and both these prices will meet at some price which is called the traded price of the bond. We generally denote it by PT, which may happen at the time T, which can be any time, of course, the trade when the trade happens, but it will be between the issue time and the final maturity time of the bond. So that P of T will be called the current traded price of the bond. So that's what I told. Once a seller offers price equals the buyer's bid price, the trade gets triggered at that price denoted by P of T. Once the trade happens, the bond is transferred to the seller to the buyer, and the bond price P is transferred to the seller from the buyer's account. From that time onwards, that is when the trade happens, For the further coupons will be paid by the issuer to the new holder, that is the buyer in the at the time T. Okay, the seller goes completely out of the scene of the bond, and the new buyer will take over the bond, and the issuer automatically will start transferring the future coupon payments to the new buyer. Of course, this will go on till the new buyer again turns to be a seller and sells the bond in the secondary market. It will go on. If the new buyer did not sell the bond till the maturity, then the face value plus the loss coupon payment will be given and the bond will be closed with that buyer. Otherwise, the same process will go on. This new buyer will now become a seller, and then that seller will try to find a new buyer in the market, and then again a trade will happen, and this process will keep on going. The bond will keep on changing from one hand to other hand till the maturity date. At the time of coupon payment, whoever is holding the bond will get that coupon payment. So this is how the bond market works. In this, the important parameter that is always kept as a reference is what is called the yield to maturity. This is nothing but the yield, or if you recall in the formula P of T, we have a parameter called R, that is called yield. Will give precisely the way that we can calculate this yield, which is commonly called yield to maturity. The idea goes like this: your bond is issued at some time, say let us take it as t equal to 0, and then the first coupon payment time, second coupon payment, like that it goes on till the maturity, say Tn at that time. So you have C by M, C by M, like that it goes on till Pn plus C by M. So N is M times N, right? So first we will assume that the seller will come to market immediately after some coupon payment, not necessarily the first coupon payment, any coupon payment, say Tk, after immediately after the payment of the time Tk, that is coupon payment, the seller decides to sell the bond in the secondary market. Okay, so we will assume this and try to establish the method for computing yield. Therefore, the first assumption that we make is that the traded time T is such that after some coupon payment, the time T is very close to it. This is what this symbol means. T is very close to Tk for some K, that is for some, after some coupon payment, the seller decided immediately after getting the payment in such a way that T minus Tk is negligible. Okay, it means the distance between Tk and the time at which the seller sells the bond, this distance is negligible. Generally, it is within 1 day, because even 1 day will accumulate the coupon value. Okay, so why we do it is, suppose after the payment Tk, the next payment Tk plus 1, suppose the seller sells here, then there is ambiguity. Who will receive the coupon payment up till this time? That is, the next coupon payment C by M will go to the new buyer, right? So this coupon will go to new buyer who bought the coupon at this time. Now, the previous holder was holding the bond up to this period, and then it was transferred to the buyer, and then the buyer was holding the coupon only up to this period. Now, how will you account this coupon payment for these two, among these two people? That is the whole problem. That we will come later. Time being, to establish this formula yield to maturity, we will assume that this distance is negligible. Okay, so that there is no ambiguity that the previous holder will not accumulate any coupon value by holding the bond for a significant period, so that the complete coupon payment is eligible only for the new buyer. Okay, so that was the idea. So with that assumption, okay, the yield to maturity formula is given like this. Let us try to understand this. The present holder received the coupon payment at Tk, okay, time Tk. So the past all he was holding, say, and at Tk, the present holder receives the coupon payment and immediately sells the bond. Of course, when they sell, the market will decide what is the price of the bond. That is very clear. Okay. In the market, both the buyer and seller will bargain with each other and then fix the price of the bond. For the new buyer, now what is the rate at which he will be getting or she will be getting the further coupon payments? That was the question. Okay, so for the new buyer, what is the rate at which they will get the coupon payment? Remember, it will no longer be C by PN, because it was the initial payment was fixed as this, and then the issuer issued it for some price P naught, right? But now, because of the bargain in the secondary market, that P naught went off, the new buyer actually paid price P of T. Okay. With respect to that P of T, what is the interest that the new buyer will get in terms of the coupon payment? Remember, issuer doesn't care who is holding the bond. The issuer has a scheme where the issuer will pay C by M, C by M, and so on till the end. At the end, Pn plus C by M, that the issuer will keep on doing, irrespective to who bought and who is holding presently the bond and what price that present holder has paid to get the bond. Okay, they don't care about it, they keep on paying it. So now the present holder will worry about what is the rate at which he will be getting that coupon rate if the price was like this. Okay, from the time K till the maturity Tn, right? So this distance is what is, so this time duration is what is important. And in this time duration, how many coupon payments are there? There are n minus k coupon payments are there, right? So that is why you have this. So Pn is discounted up to this time. Okay, you see Pn is discounted for n minus k period. And similarly, you have n minus k more coupon payments are there. Therefore, each coupon payment is accordingly discounted to get the current price. But here the idea is not to calculate current price, because we know the current price, market has already fixed and the trade already happened with the current price. So the interest is to find what could be the corresponding interest rate according to this current price. That is the idea of the yield to maturity. Okay, so you can see that you have to solve this equation as a nonlinear equation for the yield. This is precisely the internal rate of return idea that we have studied in the last class. So this R of T is called the yield to maturity. Why it is important? Because that interest rate is the main parameter for people to measure at what rate are they getting the investment, right? Because the whether it is a bank fixed deposit or any other investments, people measure their investments in terms of what is the rate at which they are getting the returns, right? So that is why whatever may be the price that you pay, finally what matters is the interest at which we are getting our returns in the investment. If you see, there is a benchmark reference which is which is the 10-year bond yield issued by the government. That is 10-year government bond yield. So you can go to Google and give 10-year government bond yield in India, you will get this graph. Okay. So this graph, even you will get on any working day, you can get this graph minute by minute or second by second also. Mostly the bonds don't trade very actively. Therefore, you may not get it second to second. At least at the end of the day, you will get the current market price of the 10-year government bond yield. So this is what the stock exchanges will be publishing every day. Therefore, you get R of T is this plot. Okay, so this is R of T and this is the time. Daily chart it is. So what they will be doing is the market will be giving them P of T and the exchange will be calculating corresponding yield and publishing that to the market. Okay, so how they calculate this is using this nonlinear equation. They will be solving this nonlinear equation for every given PT. This is given. They will be solving this polynomial equation if it is a compound. Similarly, you can find, I will give you as an exercise, find the nonlinear equation if the scheme used is continuous compounding. Okay, then also you can find the equation. Here we have assumed that the exchange is calculating with discrete compounding. Then this is the equation. Similarly, continuous compounding means you will get another nonlinear equation. Whatever it is, the exchange is solving that equation to get R, because the market is only knowing P of T. From there, you have to get the yield and that will be given to you. This is because the main reference for any investor is to know at what rate they are getting the investment. The next topic of interest is the accrued interest. If you recall, we have assumed that the traded time is very close to the immediate previous coupon time, right? So this is the assumption we made while deriving the equation for yield to maturity. Now we'll try to relax this assumption. So if you recall, at TK, the holder received the coupon payment and then before the next coupon payment, anytime actually he or she can sell the bond as per their convenience. Okay, so it need not be very close to the coupon payment time. So this is the traded time T. Now this holding period should be accounted to the previous holder of the bond, okay, in terms of the next coupon amount. Okay, so how to get that concept is called accrued interest. So let the coupon amount is paid at TK and the trade happened at T, which is not necessarily very close to TK. In that case, what we do is we try to do a linear interpolation to obtain the amount that the previous holder has accumulated from the next coupon payment. Okay, so from here, whatever the interest accumulated by the previous holder can be interpolated like this. Okay, so you can see that this is just a linear interpolation which you would have studied in your numerical analysis course. If you have not studied, you can just see it very easily. So you can just with your elementary idea itself, you can see this formula where C is the annual coupon payment and M is the frequency at which the coupon amount is paid per annum. Okay, so this is very easy to see even if you have not done a numerical analysis course. So even though the trade happened at the price P of T, the new buyer will actually pay this amount to the seller in order to get the bond. That is the price that they fixed on the market plus the accrued interest from the previous coupon period till the traded time. Both added together is what the new buyer will pay to the seller. So this amount is called the gross price. Finally, the buyer will pay this gross amount to the seller and get the bond. So precisely you can see that the price the new buyer paid is this much only. What this is nothing but the interest accrued during the holding period of the previous person. Let's see an example. Say a bond is issued on 1st of January on some year and the maturity is 31st of December on some other future year. So the face value is 100 and the bond pays a constant coupon amount 6 rupees per annum. Let the coupon be paid semi-annually, therefore M is equal to 2. It means the coupon payment is done 3 rupees on June 30th and another 3 rupees on December 31st of every year. For the sake of example, let us take the holder sold the bond on sometime, say September 20th. Say at the price of P of T is equal to 99 rupees. Okay. So it means the seller would have got 3 rupees here and then held the bond for this period and then decided to sell on September 20th for an amount of 99 rupees, right? Therefore, the buyer has to pay how much? The gross amount at the time of trading is 99 rupees. That is the price they both settled with each other, plus the interest accrued at during this period also should be paid by the new buyer to the previous holder. That is nothing but, I hope my counting is correct, there were 82 days in this period. 82 days. You can count. If it is wrong, you can tell me. There are 82 days in this period, and the whole period of the coupon payment is, in my calculation, 184 days. Therefore, it is 184 times 3. That is, each coupon payment is 3 rupees, right? So that happens to be approximately 100 rupees 35 pies. Okay. So that is the gross amount that the buyer will pay to the seller in order to get the bond on their name. The next topic is price sensitivity. What is this all about? If you recall, the yield to maturity equation is given like this. Here, you can give the interest rate and directly find the price as a formula, or you give the price and find the yield by solving this nonlinear equation. These are the two ways that we have seen that this equation can be handled. Okay, in either way, you get P as a function of T, or given P, you get R, that is the yield, as a function of T. Okay. Now, in price sensitivity analysis, what we do is instead of viewing this formula as a function of T, we will now do the other way. That is, you view this formula, the same formula is same. Now viewing it as a function of T, we will see the price as a function of the yield. Okay. So completely forget about all this happening in terms of time. You just try to analyze the behavior of the price as a function of the interest rate, that is yield. Okay. Given the coupon rate. Okay. So coupon rate is already fixed at the past itself. Okay. Given coupon amounts, you are trying to analyze how price behaves depending on the yield. Okay. So that is the interest now. See, what you do is just a calculus idea. You take this function P as a function of R. Of course, the other parameters are kind of fixed. Okay, so these are the other basic parameters. Time being, you fix them and consider it only as a function of R. Otherwise, P as an expression, it depends on all the other parameters also. But let us fix them. Now what you do, you differentiate P with respect to R. Okay, so it's directly you can differentiate it and you can see that the derivative comes like this. And you see there is a minus sign here and the entire term is positive. Okay, you assume everybody is positive practically, that is what happens. And similarly, there is a negative sign here and everything else is positive. Therefore, this entire thing is negative. That's what it is. Clearly, the right hand side is negative and hence P dash of R is negative for all R positive, of course. Interest rate, we will always assume to be positive. Nobody wants to put their money and then lose even on interest, right? So this shows that as yield increases, the bond price decreases. That is, since P dash is negative, it means P is a decreasing function of R. Therefore, as yield increases, bond price decreases. This is very clear from our basic calculus. We can understand this. Now what you do, you again differentiate it one more time. So P double dash of R, if you see, every time when you differentiate this, one more minus term will come and make this positive. Similarly, when you differentiate this term by term in this sum, this minus sign will come and multiply with this and everything will become positive now. Okay. So that is the basic definition for a twice differentiable function to be convex function. Okay. So these are two interesting and important, especially this is very important. Often experts use this property and it is always there in bond traders' mind. Yield increases, bond decreases. Similar bond price decreases. Similarly, bond price increases, yield decreases. This you will see experts always talking. Let us see in the graph. Okay, you take one typical graph, which is called the yield price curve. That is the graph of this function, on the R. So I'm plotting this function P given above in the coordinate where x-axis is taken as yield and y-axis is taken as price. Okay. Now my interest is to basically see the effect of two parameters, that is C and this one, the number of the duration, the number of coupon payments. Basically fixing all the other parameters, you can see that the price is decreasing, right? The price is decreasing as yield increasing. Okay. Also, the shape of this graph, you can see that they are convex functions. So visually also we can see all this. Now coming to this figure, what I'm doing is I'm interested in finding the effect of the coupon rate. Okay. So what I'm doing, all other parameters, Pn, M, K, everything I am fixing and varying the coupon parameters. That is, coupon rate 4% is this, 6% is this, 8% and 10%. Okay. You can see that as coupon rate increases, okay, you fix any particular yield, you can see that as coupon rate increases, the price increases. That is one effect of the parameter coupon rate, right? And this is the effect of the parameter coupon rate. Now coming to this figure, again I am plotting the graph, that is yield price curve in the coordinate where x-axis is yield and y-axis is the, this time I'm even fixing C, that is coupon rate, and varying the maturity time. Okay, the maturity time, that is the number of years for the life of the coupon. You can see that this is the year 1 and this is the maturity year 5, and green is the maturity year 10 and this is 30. This is yet another very important property that you see, that as the number of years, the maturity year increases, you see the way the curve falls. When the maturity is just 1 year, the price is almost constant as yield changes, right? Whereas for the year 30, you can see that the price is falling very rapidly as the yield increases here, okay, or decreases. So in other words, as yield changes, the price changes very rapidly. That is what is called price sensitivity. So the price sensitivity with respect to yield is too much for longer period bonds. That is what is a very well-known result in the bond theory, that price is too much sensitive with respect to yield if the maturity period increases. Okay. It means what? If you are going for a long-term bonds, then the price can change very rapidly and thereby you may be taking too much of risk in case if you want to sell the bond in between the maturity. Of course, you buy at the issue time and wait till the maturity time and get out of the bond, then no problem, you have no such risks other than, of course, credit risk and inflation risk, but liquidity risk is not there. But in between, if you want to sell, even a small variation in yield will lead to a big variation in the price. Okay, so that is the main problem when you go for long-term bonds.